Well, I think first of all, Putin at the moment still believes he can win this war, and that's why he doesn't negotiate. He hasn't gone 1 millimeter away from his maximalist positions of the very beginning of the war. Uh, I mean, to a point that even Trump is now infuriated. But uh, you know, the only strategy for the West that I see is to keep on piling up the sanctions and helping Ukraine in a much more decisive way. And that may lead to a situation where a year or two from now, either Putin himself sees that he cannot win the war and he has to completely change his strategic approach, or someone else does it for him in Moscow.
And also, the US still has not ruled out the possibility of sending long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. And that's actually what US Ambassador to NATO, Matthew Whitaker, said to his recent interview to Bloomberg. And here we can actually see the parallel with the previous US administration, which often took months to approve the new package of support to Ukraine. Do you see this parallel? Because for me, it seems that in Ukraine, we see that we are again on the same line.
Yeah, it's. I can understand the frustration of Ukrainians about Europe and America, and I can certainly share the European frustration about America since January this year. And also, I'm one of those Europeans that believe even the Biden administration was too cautious and too hesitant in supporting Ukraine. But I wouldn't focus that much on the Tomahawk missiles. I also wouldn't focus anymore on the German Taurus missiles. They're just not coming. Okay. Now, what is coming is that Ukraine is rapidly improving its production capacities for mass production of cruise missiles and ballistic missiles, but mainly cruise. There is a lot of room for improvement in terms of speed, in terms of throw weight. The warheads are still very small, but the potentials are tremendous. And I think both the US and especially Europe should now focus its main energy on enabling Ukraine to produce these weapons themselves in Ukraine and therefore make these discussions about a Western weapon system superfluous. Tomahawk is actually, it sounds great, but most of these Tomahawk missiles have to be launched from ships. You would have to bring new infrastructure to Ukraine, the launchers. You would have to train soldiers in launching them, and so on and so on. Tomahawk is much more complex than it sounds. And as I said, for the German Taurus missiles, I don't see them coming. That's a question inside the ruling coalition in Berlin. But the real focus should be to enable Ukraine to produce modern long-range systems themselves.
I'd like also to touch on the topic of the recent meeting between US President and Chinese leader. It was their first meeting after several years. And and after the meeting, actually, Donald Trump said China is ready to help the US to continue to go on with these peace talks and basically to stop the Russian war against Ukraine.
No. Sorry, Sofia.
Yeah.
The last words Xi Jinping did not say. He did not say we want to stop Russia from attacking Ukraine. No.
What Western media report?
Yeah. Look, this can mean anything, everything, and nothing. They just talked about Ukraine. but no decision was taken. Xi Jinping is not going to force Putin to stop his aggression. That's just not happening. I don't know what Trump imagined, but they both agreed that the war should end. That is what the communique says in the end. And yeah, sure, but that doesn't bring peace 1 second closer. So I would say we can safely forget about the Ukrainian topic in this first meeting. Maybe in later meetings something more concrete comes up, but so far this is just hot air.
So you think that China now has zero interest actually to bring this war to the end?
China would not mind a moderate Russian victory. Okay. I mean, they don't want Putin to triumph in the sense of occupying Kiev tomorrow. But they certainly, what they want least of all, they don't want a Russian defeat, military defeat, which might result in regime change, which might result in chaos in Russia, and China losing its northern junior partner that Russia has become recently. So, in other words, China supports Russia's war effort in more or less covert ways, but without the Chinese purchases of raw materials and energy, Russia would have gone bankrupt already long ago. Plus Chinese deliveries of dual-use products like chips and other semiconductors and other technological goods. All this helps Russia to wage this war. Without China, Russia would already have lost. That's a fact. And that tells me that China is not going to persuade Putin to do anything that he doesn't really want.